Breaking tonight, a daring rescue operation in one of Afghanistan's most dangerous provinces after more than a dozen U.S. troops are trapped behind enemy lines. And some of them are still there, surrounded right now by Taliban forces. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It all started with a firefight that left one American dead and two others injured in Marja, Afghanistan. Rescue teams were sent in, but one of the helicopters could not get away, suffering damage when the rotors collided with a wall, similar to what happened to a helicopter during the Osama bin Laden raid. A quick reaction force was then sent in, managing to evacuate some of our people, including the dead and the wounded. But others stayed behind to secure the damaged helicopter, similar to this one, and that is where they remain right now, surrounded, we are told, by enemy forces. In a province that saw some of the bloodiest fighting of the entire Afghanistan war and became the topic of an entire HBO documentary. In fact, many of the nearly 400 Marines who gave their lives in Afghanistan died in this very place. In moments, we'll be joined by three Afghanistan war veterans, including a former Navy SEAL who has taken part in operations like this. Remember, the administration has told us there is no combat operation in Afghanistan anymore. But we begin tonight with Trace Gallagher covering the breaking news from our West Coast newsroom. Trace.
Megyn, not even the Pentagon has all the details of what's happening on the ground in Afghanistan, but they know a group of U.S. Special Operations Forces are trapped in a compound surrounded by the Taliban, and the fight is ongoing. It's happening in Marja, a town in the very volatile Helmand province. Marja was controlled by the Taliban for most of the war. Then, at a very heavy cost to U.S. Marines, it was retaken by U.S. forces in 2010. Now the Taliban appears to have regained control. Today's Special Ops mission was an effort to push back the Taliban. But U.S. forces came under fire. One soldier was killed, two others wounded. Two HH-60 Pavehawk helicopters were sent to evacuate the soldiers, but one of the choppers hit the wall of a compound and was damaged. The other was waved off after heavy ground fire. Now at least a dozen Special Ops forces have stayed behind to secure the damaged chopper. An AC-130 gunship has been called in to provide air cover as U.S. troops wait out the night. A U.S. official tells Fox News the situation is, quote, harrowing, saying, again quoting, on the map there is one green dot representing friendly forces stuck in the compound, and around it is a sea of red representing hostile forces. Listen now to the Pentagon.
And there's been an effort, once again, as I mentioned before, to make sure that everything's being done to secure the safety of those Americans and the Afghan forces that they were accompanying.
And we should note a number of Afghan forces were also injured in today's battle as well. Megyn.
Trace, thank you. Joining me now with more, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, who served 2 combat tours in Afghanistan and is author of Operation Dark Heart, Spycraft and Special Ops on the front lines of Afghanistan and the path to victory. Pete Hegseth is an Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran and a Fox News contributor. And Brandon Webb is a former Navy SEAL and founder of the veteran-run news site, SOFREP.com. Thank you all for being here tonight. Tony, let me start with you, Colonel,
sure,
on what you're hearing the latest, because the situation seemed to be earlier. We thought that the troops were out of harm's way, and now it appears that's not true.
Well, no, the word I've got is that, yes, they are now out. I mean, this has been going on essentially for the past 6 hours, and the word I just received from the Pentagon sources I have is that our guys are out, thank goodness. It doesn't say that the situation stabilized. This area, Marja, is the meeting engagement right now, Megyn, regarding the current war. This is the area where even the ISIS folks are going in to take over. This is essentially ground zero for the drug war. And whoever gains control of this region becomes the arbiter of another economic center. So this is no small issue. At the same time, we are now working with the Afghan government to reconcile and bring a conclusion to the war by bringing the Taliban into the political process, essentially a negotiated peace. With that said, what's happening, simply put, we have about 10,000 troops now ongoing. Trace alluded to the Marja operation to take this in 2010. It took 15,000 troops. 15,000 troops to take Marja. Now we're trying to fight the entire country with 10. So I think...
Yes. There seems to be, I mean, you guys tell me, but there seems to be a denial of reality, because today the Pentagon, as we have over a dozen guys there surrounded by the enemy, our producer asked the Pentagon spokesperson, kind of seems like combat. I realize the president declared that this war was over. Kind of seems like combat, and they denied it, Pete. They actually tried to. They said, well, we know it's dangerous, but they're still denying that we have combat operations going on there.
They've lived in a wordsmith alternate reality for a long time now. A year ago, they declared combat operations over. And you ask a guy like Brandon Webb whether or not this is combat operations. Special operations forces, indirect fire, close air support, men wounded and one unfortunately killed alongside Afghan allies, where they've now lost some of the initiative, and we're doing effectively a recovery operation. They're seeing combat every single day, and this commander-in-chief, by not calling that, is doing them disservice, yet they courageously go into the fight with constrictive rules of engagement into hostile zones like this that we've fought for before without, as Colonel Schaefer points out, the same amount of troops that we had in the past to regain that initiative. So these guys are put in impossible situations, fight courageously, and their commander-in-chief tells them, you're not in combat.
I just want to get to the bottom of the back and forth Colonel Schaefer and I just had at the beginning, because what we were told was that the situation arose earlier, and then they sent help to get the guys out. And what our latest information, this is just coming back to me again from our Pentagon producer who's watching the program. His information is that it's not over. That in addition to the nearly dozen American special ops guys, there are dozens of Afghan forces as well, and some reinforcements in the compound in Marja. That some guys were evacuated, the one killed and those wounded, but that the special operations team remained there. You're saying you have different information from that, Colonel?
Well, I am. No, I'm saying that we still have Afghan forces on the ground. The battle is still ongoing. What I'm saying is that the people who were under fire have been pulled out of the compound. What is now is undertaking, I can't go into all the details I've been told, but basically we're now trying to figure out how to go back on the offensive, because right now, while we're engaged, we want to go after these guys.
Brendan, if they're still there, why would they still be? I mean, why wouldn't the United States military be able to get its people out of there like that?
Well, our sources at SOFREP actually confirm what Tony said. We heard it was a small contingent of U.S. Army Special Forces, an A-team, and some Army Rangers, and that they were successfully extracted. And I literally got that information as I was sitting in the green room. But as someone that served over there and lost teammates, you know, my thoughts and prayers go out to the men and the families who lost loved ones over there. And again, I think just highlights what Pete says. It's clearly a lack of foreign policy strategy in Afghanistan, the Middle East, North Africa.
How so? Well,
this administration, if you just look at the results, is there more stability in the Middle East, more stability in North Africa and in Afghanistan since 9/11? And I think the answer is just clearly no, there isn't. And that just points to a clear lack of foreign policy strategy by this administration.
It's amazing because as we've been watching ISIS in the Middle East and Syria, many have believed we've taken our eye off the ball in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan could turn into another Syria if we don't keep our eye on it. I'll give you the last thought on that, Colonel.
Oh, absolutely. That's the issue, ungoverned space. General Dunford had to convince the president recently regarding the troop levels there. General Dunford's come in and doing a review of what's going on. The bottom line is this, Megyn. If we depart now, we abandon the investment of blood and treasure in Afghanistan, we will see ISIS take over the centers of economic production, the drugs, the trade trails, everything. And frankly, it'll become worse than I believe Syria, even by the fact that they will destabilize Pakistan. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. So we have to consider the results of Libya and the results of Syria of not taking positive action.
All right.
If we don't maintain it here, we will see
I'll let you weigh in, Pete, as I see you want to. I just want to tell you again, we are getting different information from you guys, and you guys are very well connected. I just want our viewers to realize that there is a conflict in the information our very well-respected guys are getting and what we are getting. We're going to try to get to the bottom of it because we want to know whether our troops are in harm's way and in a situation right now from which they're having difficulty extracting themselves. Pete, I'll give you the quick final word.
Either way, it underscores what a complex and fluid situation these always are. What I was going to add is that layered on top of all of this is we have a president who's always been political about Afghanistan. Former defense secretaries from Gates to Panetta to Hagel have outlined how Afghanistan was always about the good war that was politically good for them, as opposed to truly being dedicated to winning it. And as a result, you have warfighters flapping out on the edge, putting their lives on the line, and put in precarious situations like this for a mission they don't know if their commander-in-chief even believes in.
Say a prayer for the
President may be
families
able-
of the
he
fallen
may be
tonight.
able to
I got to
declare
go,
gun
you guys.
control.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Thank you.